Jalen Hurts, the most polarizing quarterback in NFL history. Okay, top 5 at least. But yeah, I came across this post, this article, and it was one of those things I read where I was like, so annoyed that I didn't come up with it myself, honestly, because it's actually really spot on. This was in the Philly Inquirer Sports. It was like a post from them. And it says, the Eagles acquiring Andy Dalton might have less to do with Tanner McKee and more with Jalen Hurts. Dalton's presence might be part of an effort to put more experienced quarterbacking minds around Jalen Hurts. Dalton, a 3-time Pro Bowler who has transitioned into a backup role late in his career, mentored Bryce Young with the Panthers over the last few seasons and helped him break out in 2025. It is insulting to suggest Hurts needs that kind of mentorship. I'm sure he's probably going to walk that back. I don't recall exactly, but first off, it's most definitely not insulting. And we're going to get into that. But it's not insulting to suggest Dalton will be an asset to Hurts, Sean Mannion, and the Eagles. And it's probably more useful to view his acquisition through that lens, rather than what it means for the Eagles' ability to snag a late-round pick for Tanner McKee. I genuinely love this take. You guys know I talk about this constantly, the importance of coaching. And how it doesn't matter how experienced you are, no matter what you've achieved in your career, no matter how any Super Bowls, blah blah blah, there's still so much to learn. There's always room to continue growing and evolving. And as someone who has obviously defended and praised Jalen Hurts, I mean, let's be honest, second to pretty much nobody out there, I will also be as vocal as possible that there's still plenty of room for Jalen Hurts to grow and evolve as a quarterback. And when you watch certain breakdowns, those clips that I've even shared on here, whether from Greg Cosell or Losky, Kurt Warner, etc., there are certain things, or the quarterback school, there are certain aspects where you just find yourself thinking, man, I really hope that there are other people talking to Jalen about some of these things. And Andy Dalton is exactly that. Having a quarterback, when you're a young quarterback, having a legitimate veteran presence, man, it is such an advantage. Patrick Mahomes has talked about this with Alex Smith. But it is such an advantage to have a genuinely experienced quarterback who's been around the block and can offer so much. I mean, any type of experience can offer you a lot. And it's why I made fun of Nick Wright for making fun of Caleb Williams practicing with Brock Purdy. He made the joke, he goes, oh yeah, hopefully Caleb can rub off on Brock. And it was just like, imagine thinking that Brock can't teach Caleb Williams anything. Like, that's absurd. And then you had someone like Sam Darnold go in there, who had more experience than Brock Purdy, and he came in and said, I learned a ton from Brock. And at that point, Brock was in his second year as a starter. So, you can learn from so many different places. And Andy Dalton really has a wealth of experience. And especially in the style of play, an area that Jalen Hurts needs to work on and continue to develop, having an actual player who's still in the league, he's obviously not a retired player, but he's not a coach either. Like, he's closer to being a player than not. I think that offers tremendous value. Those guys largely become kind of like a hybrid coordinator, hybrid quarterback coach, hybrid friend, just someone to sit there with you. Listen, we see it when you're watching games, when you see the backup quarterback talking to the starter. They're in constant dialogue with each other. They're there. It's different when you have a younger player who's either still trying to make it or just a younger player who's clearly not quite there. You can still learn from them, I'm sure, but it's a little bit different. Having a legitimate seasoned veteran, I'm telling you right now, having someone like Kirk Cousins there if you have a young developing quarterback, just someone like a Kirk Cousins, is worth its weight in gold. It really is. And I emphasized this so much last season because I was always looking for examples to use for specific topics. And I just think we had such unbelievable examples of what happens when you actually have established veteran quarterbacks, whether I tease Flacco, whether it was even Aaron Rodgers, whether it was Phillip Rivers, Kirk Cousins, you just see it. It's night and day. You saw how they were able to play and run an offense, and compare that to a Jackson Dart, compare that to a Cam. Like, it's just night and day. You see it immediately. Even though Phillip Rivers doesn't quite have it anymore, Aaron Rodgers doesn't quite have it anymore, you can still see their ability to process and understand the game at such an incredibly deep level. You know what I mean? Like, Tom Brady has come out and said that after a decade of playing in the NFL, he was still learning. And that's why I blasted my comparisons. I did it a couple years ago when someone said, "Oh, I've seen everything in the NFL already." And I'm like, really? In year 3 or whatever? I'm like, you've already seen everything. It took Tom Brady well over a decade, and he was still learning stuff. And yet you apparently have already learned everything. It's like, wow, that's pretty impressive. And it's just like, you always have to be willing to learn, grow, and evolve. And having an Andy Dalton there with Jalen Hurts, that's why I don't think it's insulting. Yes, is it insulting if you're implying that he needs just as much mentorship as Bryce Young? Sure. But at the same time, if Andy Dalton is going to be able to be like an extension of Sean Mannion, he's going to be there to really help watch film, break it down, point out little things. I mean, it really goes a long way, man. It really goes a long way. And especially when someone like Flacco, whether it's an Andy Dalton, these guys are still in the NFL for a reason. They really are. Same thing with someone like Kirk Cousins. These guys are still in the NFL for a reason because they genuinely offer value. Their experience really, really, really matters. I mean, if you had one game to win, right? You just got thrown into the Super Bowl and everyone just got injured and you need to pick a quarterback, and it was between Andy Dalton right now or, Jackson Dart or Cam Ward or rookie version of Caleb, you'd be better off saying, you know what? I need a quarterback that knows how to play football, or I need a quarterback that knows how to run an offense. Like, I understand that these other quarterbacks have better potential, more mobility, they've got a little bit more juice, but like, I need a quarterback, we're in the Super Bowl. I need a quarterback that understands the fundamentals of football, who understands how to play in the NFL. That's what you need. And so, Jalen Hurts has never really had that version of a backup quarterback who's there to help support him. It's always been someone like Marcus Mariota, Gardner Minshew, Tanner McKee. Like, what was the other one? Oh gosh, the one in 2024. Kenny Pickett. Like, he's never really had that true veteran presence. And if Jalen Hurts is smart, he'll develop a legitimate relationship with him. He'll come away and be able to look back on his career and say, man, having Andy there, having AD there, was huge. It was so awesome and I learned so much, and we really got to work on so many things. He helped me see things from a different perspective, blah blah blah, you know. And if Jalen's smart and open, that's exactly the kind of relationship you would hope he can develop. And I really believe in Sean Mannion and what he's going to look to do, and I believe in Jalen Hurts' ability to learn and his adaptability. I mean, if we're really being honest with ourselves, the way he played in 21 was different from 22. 22 was different from 23. 23 was different from 24. And 24 was different from 25. And he is clearly incredibly adaptable. Say what you will about Jalen Hurts, but he's been thrown into a million different situations and has succeeded. Has he looked like a Hall of Famer every single week, every single season? Obviously not, but you cannot say that Jalen Hurts isn't an incredibly resilient and adaptable quarterback. And so, I really do believe there is a next step to his game. There is an evolution. There is a growth to his game that, quite frankly, we haven't really been able to see. And I talked about this a little bit before because from 21 it was a little bit chaotic and it was kind of half with Shane Steichen, half not. Then 22 was great, a ton of momentum, obviously got to the Super Bowl. 23 was really just trying to stay alive. And then 24 was like, hey, this is a very specific way that we want to play. It's working. We're winning. And when we need to call Jalen Hurts' number, obviously Super Bowl MVP, we can. But it was just like, defense, run game, smart strategic passing, which really then every other football team decided to follow suit with as well, but only the Eagles got in trouble for it, and surprise, surprise. And then 25 was also survival. It was just like, man, this is kind of crazy, it's kind of chaotic. Got to survive. And so, there was never really a place for him to build off any momentum. There was never a foundation that he could then build off of, right? Like having Shane Steichen go from 22 to 23 or something like that. Have Kellen Moore from 24 to 25. He's never had that luxury. And so, I just believe having Sean Mannion there, which obviously will be another way to approach the game, still I think can go a long way. And listen, I even say this because I remember highlighting that clip before. I forget who said it. It might have been Tom, it might have been one of the wives, but talking about how it takes like a year to kind of really master a system. And yet, obviously Jalen Hurts is kind of going through it again and again and again. And I think bringing in Andy Dalton and Sean Mannion, ideally, honestly, having both those guys there for at least 2 years, just can bring about incredible change. Incredible change and incredible growth. There were concrete things you were looking at Jalen Hurts do last season. I think Jalen Hurts played really well. I think Jalen Hurts had an insanely underrated season. I tried my best to highlight that as much as I can. But he did a lot of awesome things, but there were still things he could work on that you just kind of look at and think, if you fine-tune this a little bit, like, it's over. Like, we got it. We're rolling. Like, there's no more discussion, no more nonsense. I mean, there still will be discussion, there still will be nonsense, but those guys are edging on a cliff, you know, they're getting farther and farther away. And so, I become incredibly excited by that prospect. And I just think even adding in Andy Dalton really helps solidify that and really helps create an even better learning environment for Jalen Hurts. And I just really hope that Jalen Hurts goes into this situation with the mindset of wanting to learn as much as he possibly can. I want to become an even better version of myself. And I feel like he does because when he won the Super Bowl, he sought out guidance from like Peyton Manning, etc. Like, he does want to be the best leader and the best version of himself. I mean, he's more than willing to do whatever it takes to win. I mean, when you really think about it. Like when he beat Casey and Chris Jones, he yelled at them and said, "All you threw for 100 yards whatever." He goes, "We won the game." Right? Like he didn't complain or try to play outside of himself in 2024 when they won the Super Bowl. Like, throughout the whole course of the season, everyone's saying, "Oh, he's a liability. He's not good." He never tried to prove anyone wrong. He never tried to do anything beyond what was asked of him. What more can you ask for, honestly? He's literally doing what you're asking of him to do. And when it's time to play above that, he does it. Even in the playoff game he lost against the 49ers, he actually played awesome. I'm not going to go through the tape again and show you the highlights of that, but he actually played awesome. Even someone who's been hard on him, Greg Jennings, was like, he wasn't the problem. He's like, I've been hard on Jalen Hurts. I'm like, he wasn't why they lost. Right? He was pointing fingers at the receivers and A.J. Brown especially. So, it was like, he wasn't the problem. And he was actually ready to be the hero of that game yet again, if it wasn't for the offensive lineman, Johnson Part 2, not Lane Johnson, who just gave up on the play. That play is still ridiculous. I still can't believe he just gave up on a play like that. And Jalen Hurts would have literally saved the day and had them win in the final moments of that game. But, you know, I'm excited to see him be able to become a more consistent quarterback, make things easier, smoother, and I really believe that's what we're going to be set up to see. But I just want to emphasize as loudly as I can, and I'll end here. It really is so much on Jalen Hurts. I truly believe Jalen Hurts can take another step and take that next step as a quarterback and really be someone that we can really say, no, man, that guy is special. But he has to want it. He has to dive in and be all in on it. He has to just completely let go of any ego. And when I say ego, I know that word kind of gets tripped up a little bit. We all have egos, right? And we all have to kind of put it to the side from time to time in life. Like ego doesn't automatically mean that slur of, you've got an ego. But like, we all have our egos, we all have ways we view things. And it's just like, that's why one of the ways they say to be the happiest is always look at something through the beginner's mind, right? Always be humble, always be humble. And again, I believe Jalen Hurts clearly has that humility. When they were winning the Super Bowl, like when there was the final minutes in that game, he goes up to Saquon and said, "This was because of you. This was because of you." And he knew that Saquon didn't have this unbelievable game, but he's like, you were the missing piece. You were the difference maker. I mean, that's just unbelievable leadership. This guy is about to win the Super Bowl MVP, the height of his career, and he's telling another person, he's why we're here. He's why we're here. And I mean that's absolutely incredible. And those are the things that we always want to overlook when discussing the leadership and the likability of Jalen Hurts. But that's a whole other video. But I just, you still need to check yourself. You still need to remind, no matter how great of a leader you are, no matter how humble you are and how entrenched you are with humility and faith and whatever it may be, you still always need those reminders. You still always need to be able to hit that reset button and go in there with hat in hand and open arms and say, make me better. Make me the best I possibly can be. And I just really hope that's the approach he takes. That he's looking at it from the lens of, I'm ready to learn a different way to play football. And you know what? Credit to Dak who really did that with Mike McCarthy, right? And he came there and at that point Dak had success. I'm not acting like Dak has had the success of Jalen Hurts because he hasn't. But like, Dak was established, already got paid, had some, again had genuine success, and totally open arms to Mike McCarthy. And he praised McCarthy for teaching him how to play quarterback at a higher level, at a simpler level. I remember he went, I wish I could find that clip, but he was just like, I didn't realize how much simpler this could be. And you saw Dak take a genuine step forward. And at that point he had already been playing when, I think Mike McCarthy took over as his immediate play caller, the main voice in his ear in 2023, I think it was. So at that point Dak had already been in the league for what? 6, 7 years? He was established. And it's not like Mike McCarthy had the reputation of being like this elite coach that you better listen to, otherwise you're a fool. And it's not like Sean Mannion obviously has that. So, I think that stuff really goes a long way. And the more I think about it, the more I get excited about it, which is why I can kind of keep ranting about it. But yeah, I really like that angle of Andy Dalton and the fact that he hasn't had that yet. And I see Andy Dalton complimenting Jalen Hurts, Andy Dalton and Jalen complimenting each other. And yeah, I'm just always excited for someone to get an opportunity that they haven't really had. And this is going to be, I think, a legitimate emphasis on developing Jalen and making Jalen the best version of himself. That's not what he had in 23. That's not what he had in 24. That's not what he had in 25. He probably had that in 21 into 22. But outside of that, he hasn't had it for years. This is going to be a legitimate emphasis. And the fact that the Eagles went out and got an Andy Dalton just shows you how well run they are and the foresight and the understanding of what it takes to take a step forward, in any way. In any light. It's just they continue to show their understanding of the game both on and off the field. So, I'm excited for it. Those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Philadelphia Eagles and kind of Andy Dalton be? ING brought in there to help mentor and learn and, really be a veteran presence, an extension of a coach and quarterback coach. Let me know your thoughts. I read every single comment. So, whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here. I'd absolutely love to see you a part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be a part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.